All right. Good evening. Happy Saturday evening, Sonder fam. My name is Maya, and I am coming to you from Aurora, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver, where it was probably maybe 78, 80 degrees here today. It was very, very nice outside. And I was telling Katie, who is here with me tonight as my co-facilitator, who's going to be hanging out in the chat, but I was telling her I had a very lovely massage, 2-hour massage earlier today. So I'm very relaxed. So we were joking. I was just kind of like, I, I I think I know what I'm doing, but maybe I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just in a very relaxed state. And she was she's coming to us from a party, a gathering where she said, well, I've had a few glasses of wine. So who knows what's going to happen tonight here on the social. So welcome everyone. Again, so glad that you could join us tonight as we set up our week here this week in October. So is there anybody new? This is your first time coming to a social, maybe first time coming to a setup social, those kinds of things. I just want to let you know that you are not on camera. Right. The only person on camera is myself. You are also, there's no audio for you, right? We can't hear you. Your microphones aren't on. So you don't have to worry if you've got a lot of stuff going on in the background, anything. Oh, Amber, welcome to your first weekly setup. And the chat sometimes gets going a little fast. Sometimes we have maybe 100, 200 people with us. The chat can get rolling pretty fast. So just kind of do what works for you. Some people like to mostly participate in the chat. They take a lot of notes for how they're going to set up, and they do that after the social. Some people are kind of nose in journal, ignore the chat. They're focused on working on the setup. And some people like to do kind of a mix in between. So I just like to tell everybody that this is totally what works for you. And I see we have some other new folks. Kimberly, welcome. Um, again, this really is your time, and we are so happy that you were able to carve out an hour out of your day to give yourself a little self-care, a little time to be able to work on your journal. And I will say, setting up your week definitely helps with that feeling of being prepared, right, to go forward. So just a few community guidelines, just because we want to make sure that this is a safe and supportive space. So we just ask that you're kind and courteous to both yourself and others, no promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy. There's no hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to ask about pins and stickers and, cases that people use to carry their journal. The best place to ask those questions, though, I have found is in Sonder Club. Then you can get a lot more people kind of giving you links and that kind of thing. Speaking of links, sometimes depending on what version you're on and if you're on your phone, sometimes the links that get dropped in the chat don't work. So screenshot will be your friend. If you can do a screenshot with your phone. The other thing is if you're on a computer and you aren't sure how to screenshot on the computer, just grab your phone, take a little picture of the slides, take a little picture of kind of what you want to remember as you're working to set things up. Any of those customer care inquiries go to our HQ team. Katie and I don't have access to your account, so we can't help you with things like shipping, billing, those kinds of things. So just send that email to hello@silkandsonder.com. And then ultimately, these socials are really a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. But you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. If there's ever anything that we're working on that you're kind of like, it's not really my jam, um, you're free to do whatever, right? Do whatever works for you. If the music I play isn't really your jam, you can mute that. If my voice is annoying or what I'm saying is annoying, you can mute me. We've got the closed caption so you can kind of see what's going on without having to hear. So again, it really is up to you for what you want and what you want to get out of this time, right? So this month's theme has been super interesting. I think a lot of people are really enjoying it. The themes of the month sometimes hit really well with folks, and other times are kind of a miss, right? And so if this is a miss for you, no worries, right? It's your opportunity to pick a different theme or to focus on something else. But if this theme is really kind of hitting for you, that's awesome, and see how you can kind of dig into it. And I liked the little quote by Thomas Edison that says, "Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work." And I think that's a good thing to remind ourselves. Opportunity isn't always something that is just easy or falls in your lap. Oftentimes, opportunity is something that's there, but we have to work for it. We have to strive to take advantage of that opportunity. And then I also liked the little quote up in the top that says, "You're not too old to start over. You're too old to keep doing what isn't working." And again, that's another one of those things where, you want to say opportunities, right? Again, kind of thinking of what opportunities are making themselves available to you. And sometimes opportunities can be small things, right? Again, I think sometimes we think an opportunity has to be like, oh, it's a brand new job, or something like that. I was actually just thinking of this today when our house is a little messy because we've been traveling a lot and we're going to be traveling again some more. And I had maybe 30 minutes of downtime, and I thought, oh, it's an opportunity for me to just do a little quick tidying, a little 30 minutes of kind of cleaning, and it actually makes me feel a lot better. So again, it's that recognizing opportunities and then taking advantage of them, big or small, right? So our agenda for tonight, we are going to do, when we do these weekly setups, we do what we call a mind map, where we can kind of dig a little bit deeper into that theme. Then we work on our rosebud thorn, and then we'll work on our weekly setup pages. And if you've been with me before, you know I love to use these little drawings from the artist, the latest Kate, who has these really nice affirming little pictures. And I like the one with the little kitten says, "There's room for you here just as you are." And I think that's so important for these socials, because sometimes in our lives we're having a lot of up moments, we're having a lot of great things, a lot of great opportunities are maybe coming for us. Things are going really well, but we know life isn't always like that. Life is not always a series of ups, right? And sometimes there we have some downs, we have some illness, we have loss of a friends, family member, those kinds of things. We have folks who have lost their jobs, those kinds of things. So wherever you are, right, there's room for you here, and we are glad that you're here, and we're glad that you can be. I think folks are very vulnerable a lot of times in the chat, very honest about what's going on, and I think that is so important to see. Everybody has ups and downs, right? And then speaking of feelings, the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So don't ever let someone tell you, "Oh, you shouldn't be mad about that," or "You shouldn't be sad about that," or "You shouldn't be sad anymore," right? "You should be over it," right? No one can tell us how we feel. Our feelings are our feelings, and we're here for all of them, right? We're here to feel the feels with everyone. And I love, especially with some of our returning members, getting to see them go through feelings and experience ups and experience downs. And that's one of the great things about this community, is that it's very, very exciting to see people's lives and kind of how things are going. So we love seeing, if when you feel like typing in the chat, kind of telling us things that are going on, we love seeing that, right? So let's dive into this idea of a mind map, right? Our opportunity mind map. So you're going to find a blank page in your journal if you haven't already. This is going to be week 2, but if you haven't done week 1, no worries. I'm going to show you what week 1 was. You don't have to catch up if you don't want to. You can start right here. And then we're going to reflect on different types of opportunities in your life. So this week, we are going to think about opportunity as it relates to personal development. Last week, you looked at opportunity as it related to educational opportunities, maybe times when you were studying or participating in programs, or some sort of learning process. And then tonight, we're going to focus on this idea of personal development. So we're going to want you to think about a skill or a habit that you want to develop that you haven't had the time or space to focus on yet. Maybe it's something that you've started thinking about, but you haven't quite got it in as a habit, or you haven't quite honed that skill yet. So really think about, what does achieving this goal look like for you, and why is it important, and how could it contribute to your overall sense of growth and fulfillment? So keep in mind, these mind maps we do for, even if a even if a month ends up being obnoxious and having that extra weekend, if it has an extra weekend, we'll do a bonus mind map. So just know if you want to set your pages up for the mind map, we do 4. So here's some examples of how folks have set those up. The one on the upper left is our fabulous facilitator, Jen O. The one on the top right is our fabulous person who's here helping us in the chat, Katie. And then the one on the bottom is mine. I set that up today, kind of with the little Halloween theme, right? But you don't have to set it up like this, right? You can use the scratch pad section in your journal. You can use sticky notes, any kind of blank page. A lot of people like to use the very back page just because it makes it easy to flip to. Maybe you want to use the definition page on page 3 or the quote page on page 38. So just take a little bit of time right now and think about skills or habits that you want to develop. What might it look like if you were already doing them? And then what do you need to make it happen? What kind of supports maybe do you need? And then also might be helpful to think of your why. So one of the things I was thinking, I have been, and I know a lot of our Sonder fam do this, use Duolingo, the language app. And I use it every day. And I have a really, I think I have, I don't know, is it like 1,200 and some day streak? So I use it every day. But I'm not really spending a lot of time with it, right? And sometimes I kind of do the lazy, I just do the speaking lessons so that I can get my credit for doing the lesson that day. And so I keep thinking that I would really like to develop that skill more. I would like to focus a little bit more on that. And what would it look like if I was already doing it? It would be, maybe really dedicating 15 minutes a day to really focusing on using that app, writing down the words, looking at the words throughout the day, finding a way that I could practice that with some folks. In my community or at my workplace, right? Kind of, I'd sit and try to kind of visualize what would it look like if I was working on Spanish every day? And then what do I need to make it happen? I need to carve out some time. I need to find some people who would be willing to work with me, as I learn Spanish. I'm good about understanding, but I'm always hesitant about speaking it. So maybe I need to be a little bit braver about that. And my why is I think it's really good for your brain to learn another language. I also think it's really good to be able to communicate with other people. So that's kind of my as I'm going to write this down, that's kind of what I'm thinking for that. So think about this, right? Think about this question. I'm going to play a little bit of music. Feel free to share in the chat kind of what you're thinking in terms of that personal development opportunity. What are some opportunities? Maybe it's the habit is you want to give yourself the opportunity to develop like a nighttime ritual, right? Or a nighttime routine. And so what would that look like if you were doing it? What do you need to make it happen? What kind of supports? What do you need to know? What do you need to do? And then think about what that looks like. So I'm going to play a little bit of music, let you work on that. Feel free to comment in the chat, and then we'll check back in here in just a few minutes. Right. Lots of great ideas in the chat. I love that people are really embracing this idea of, you know, now is a good time, like Katie was saying in the chat, the Burr months, right, to really kind of focus on maybe a new hobby, or maybe a hobby that you kind of sort of do a little bit, but you haven't really, spent a lot of time honing or, becoming more skilled. I saw several folks talking about crocheting. I do a lot of knitting. And sometimes that tends to ebb and flow with the temperature outside. So it's kind of nice. It's getting a little cooler. So I'm more willing to pick up the yarn. And yeah, Elizabeth, talking about New Year's resolutions, right? Some people wait until New Year to start doing a new thing. And I think it's always a good time. Right now is a good time to really think about that idea of that skill or that habit. Maybe you have gotten out of the habit of reading every night, right? And you want to get back into that habit, right? So really kind of thinking about, this is a good opportunity this week to really think about how can you be very intentional and find those opportunities, right? Give yourself the opportunity to be able to spend the time. So maybe it's setting a timer, maybe it's setting a reminder on your phone, those kinds of things. So hopefully you've got some ideas of maybe what you want to do in terms of opportunity around personal development for this week, right? And you can do it for the whole month, right? You can definitely do that. So now let's dive into our rosebud thorn. We do this at the end of every week because it's very, very important to give ourselves a little reflection time. If you're like me and you're always running from one thing to another, you tend to forget all the amazing things that have happened during the week, and sometimes the bad things. We like to forget the bad things sometimes, right? But it's always good to just spend a little time reflecting. So we look at the rose, which is something that went well, something that you're grateful for, a positive thing, a happy thing. The bud is maybe something that could bloom, something that you look forward to, something that gives you hope, motivation, inspiration. And then the thorn is that thing that didn't go well, right? Maybe it's something that's challenging or stressful that you could use a little support with now. And maybe you can even think about turning that thorn into a bud. So starting with my thorn, I found this, not another meeting. I work for a school district, and there's been a lot of changes. We have a new-ish superintendent. He started last year, but really started making some changes this year. And so there's been a lot of meetings that have been put onto my calendar. And I added up all these meetings, and it adds up to about 36 hours a month, which I said, 36 hours a month, right? Like that's almost a full week of meetings. Like it's really hard for me to get my other work done. So that has definitely been a thorn. I'm not sure how to turn it into a bud, but we'll see. Maybe I can think of some way to potentially do that, right? Yeah, Stephanie, 36 hours. And then my bud is that we are leaving Monday to go to Disneyland for the Halloween party. We have a Halloween party on Tuesday, so I'm super excited for that. We love going out for Halloween. I don't have a super exciting costume to wear. I just have like a Cheshire Cat dress and some Cheshire Cat stuff because he's kind of my fave. So I'll be doing that. So definitely looking forward to that emerging opportunity. And then my rose was, we just got back from Iceland. We got back on Monday night, and we were there for about 4 days. We went with my in-laws to kind of help show them around because they're in their 80s and they felt like they couldn't do it by themselves. So my husband and I went, and we got to see the auroras a couple nights, which was amazing. But I have heard that several people here in the States have been able to see. There were some people even here in Denver and Colorado that saw the Northern Lights the other day. So, those are always super amazing. So feel free to share any of those roses, those buds, those thorns in the chat. I'll play a little bit of music and let you work on that. And then we'll check back in here in just a few moments. All right. Thank you, those of you who shared in the chat those different rose, buds, and thorns. I know I think I saw somebody say they had like 30 hours of meetings a week, which was quite horrifying for me to think, unless I guess your whole job is meetings. But I saw some, different folks that have different things kind of going on throughout the week. And I think it's just a good exercise for us to spend. This is also a really good page when we do our monthly setups. When we go back and reflect on the whole month, it's good to be able to go back to these and remind yourself what you did all those weeks, right? So thank you all for sharing those in the chat. Definitely appreciate those. So let's work on our weekly planner. We do have to skip over a couple pages here, and we're going to go to page 40 in your journal. Believe it or not, this is week 42 of the year, right? We're rapidly going through the year, right? So we're going to start out with our feeling for the week. So this really is how you want to feel for the week, right? I always think of it as setting my intention for how I want to show up for the week, right? Like what does this look like? So different words, it could be just one word. I've got a little set of words there for you to kind of think about that idea of grounded, open, inspired, included. Here's some examples of different things that other Sonder fam have used. I see some people are saying happy. So getting some words there into the chat. I'm just going to play a little bit of music. Feel free to drop your word, or it could be a set of words. It could be a sentence. It could be an affirmation. It could be stickers if you don't want to use a word, right? Any of those kinds of things, right? So I'll play a little bit of music. We'll check back in and keep an eye on the chat. Okay, so hopefully you have your word for the week. Again, this is something good to kind of look back on a daily basis and kind of remind yourself, how did I want to feel? Oh, I love Lisa wants to feel jaunty. I love that. How fun. But think about that, right? And what does that mean? If maybe that's the word you write on your mirror and you look at every morning when you're getting ready. Maybe you put it on a sticky note and put it on your car dashboard. Maybe you put a sticky note on your computer, as you said in all those meetings, so that you can look at it. But again, remember that idea of this is how I want to feel, this is how I want to show up. And I'm seeing things like vibrant and calm, in control, purposeful, industrious, openly in charge, right? These are great words. And again, I think it's great to just kind of set that intention for the week. So take that idea, take that feeling as we move into those weekly major 3 goals, right? Because sometimes it's really nice if you can kind of tie the feeling to the goals. So like if I could accomplish these goals, I would have my feeling, right? Or I would feel my feeling. So lots of different ways to use this particular space. Some different ideas of some examples of things that people have done as opposed to just listing 3 things, right? They have I like the morning self-care goals. So they actually kind of have their routine laid out there with the little tick boxes so they can kind of see if they're doing that. One person has an AM routine and a PM routine, self-care, and they are kind of filling those in like a little bit of a bingo. You can look at those Again, look at that feeling, choose the goals that align with your monthly intentions. Remember those monthly intentions we set at the beginning of the month? Maybe this is a good time to go back and look at those and say, are there some goals that I could come up that would help me with that? You can have one goal to focus on, right? Think about that. Maybe you want to focus on just one goal for the week. Or if you think, well, I usually set monthly goals, so I don't necessarily set weekly goals, maybe you want to repurpose it to be maybe movies or TV shows that you want to remember to watch, a self-care jar, right? The little self-care activities, a quote or a mantra or some song lyrics. Maybe it's 3 fun activities that you want to do, some stickers, some doodles. Here's a bunch more examples of things that folks put. The one up in the top right I like because it supports how you want to feel. To feel more lovely, they want to feel lovely for the week, I will put some extra effort into my appearance, buy fresh flowers for home and work, and be kind and extra pleasant to others, right? So they kind of have this idea of how they're going to get that feeling. Some people they want to let go of something, leap into something, and learn something. Maybe you want to have a left brain, a right brain, and a no brain goal. Maybe you want to have a work goal and a home goal. Maybe you want to have some goals of things you want to stop for the week. Oops. So think about those goals. And again, as we've been doing, right? We play a little music, let you work on those. Feel free to pop something into the chat if you want to share your goals with us. And then we'll check back in here in just a moment. All right. Thank you for sharing those goals that you've come up with, for the week ahead, what those look like. And then the nice thing is, if you have those goals set, then we can dive into those to-dos, and we can also dive into the habits and activities, because I think I'm going to talk about both of those because I think sometimes they can be a little interchangeable. So lots of different ways to do a to-do list. You could do just a straight up to-do list. These are the things I need to get done this week. Maybe you want to divide it into work and personal. Maybe you want to have a need, a want, and a hope column for things that you want to happen during the week. Maybe you want to use that Eisenhower decision matrix where you can take those to-dos and decide if they are something that you need to do right now, they're important and urgent, but maybe there's something that's not important and it's not urgent and we can delete it or we can eliminate it, right? Um, Maybe you want to take the Pomodoro technique. If you haven't used that, I definitely like those. I have little timers that will set up for usually about 25 minutes. So you do some really focused work. So maybe there's some things that you want to focus on. Maybe you want to do a to-do list. So maybe you just kind of, as you do the things, you write them down, right? And then it's like, ta-da. Here's some more examples of bingos, right? We do love a good bingo here at Silk and Saunders. So lots of fun things to put in there. Maybe you want to divide it into a morning routine or an evening routine. I like the one on the bottom. It says, don't do this instead. So they're helping themselves change some of those habits. So instead of spending time mindlessly scrolling, they're going to do something creative. And then thinking about those habits and activities, because again, like I said, sometimes they tie together. The habits and activities here are a little bit different than the ones that are on your monthly wheel. These are things that are usually very specific to the week, maybe things you just want to do a few times during the week. So you can see different ways that people have set this up. Again, you don't have to fill in every line. You don't have to fill in every box, right? It's kind of what works for you. The one in the bottom right, I kind of like because they have this idea of a habit and activity, and they've circled the days when they want it to happen, right? So just kind of taking a look at these different ways that you can set those up. The other thing is, if the habit and activity section or the to-do section or whatever doesn't work for you, put in some stickers. You can see somebody wrote nope, and they kind of drew a little picture there, and they're not going to use the habit and activity section. And I would definitely encourage you to think about, maybe instead of adding some things, maybe there's some things that you want to get rid of, right? So the first step to getting what you want is having the courage to get rid of what you don't. And I've definitely found that if I put things like the just say no, one that's down in the bottom right, where they're deleting emails and unsubscribing from emails, decluttering, trying to do without sugar, a lot of added sugar, throwing away expired food, not doing social media, right? So those kinds of things can be super helpful as you think about that. So again, just a little bit of music as you think about your to-dos and your habits and activities, or habities, as I called them one time when I was talking too fast. So let us know kind of what your, if you would like to, what either one of those are. And we will check back in here in just a moment. Okay, so love the different ideas that folks have for these areas. Again, this really is something for me that changes every week, right? From week to week, depending on what I've got going on. So knowing that I'm going to be traveling on Monday, I'm probably going to have things like packing lists or things I need to remember, that I want to do, those kinds of things. Other weeks, maybe it has things about how many, if I want to read my book, if I want to do some knitting, if I have some doctor's appointments, right? So keep in mind, this is also a good place to experiment, right? So find some different ways, maybe try something new and see how it works for you. And then maybe it's something you want to keep doing. If you have something that worked last week and you want to bring it forward to the next week, absolutely, right? Don't think you have to have brand new stuff here every week, right? So let's dive over into that next page. Katie likes to call this the B side, right? Like on our album, our B side over on page 41, because sometimes I use a lot of stuff on this page and sometimes I don't really use it much at all. Sometimes I just use it to doodle or throw some stickers on there. That kind of thing. So and what I'm going to do here, just so that you kind of can get an idea of different things that can be used for these sections and then figure out what you want to do, is I'm going to kind of go over each page. Oh yeah, and Elizabeth is saying why B-side is so important, right? And yeah, again, right, it totally depends on how you want to use it and what you need. I feel like the meal plan is probably the one that's the most repurposed that we hear from folks, like, what can I do with this? I don't track my food here. I track it in an app, or I don't track my food. I don't plan meals out, those kinds of things. So that people will say, well, what can I use this for if it's not about food, right? Okay, well, here's some examples of things that folks have done. They've used it as a symptom or a health tracker. So like tracking things like glucose levels. Sometimes when my vertigo is really bad, I try to track that so that sometimes I can kind of see if there's any sort of a pattern. Maybe it's a daily debrief, a daily scripture quote, schoolwork, homework, lesson plan reminders, a word of the day, kind of fun there, reflections. So I know some people use the GLAD reflections. So they have something that's they're grateful for, something they learned, something they achieved, something that delighted them, right? Yeah, and Brandy in the chat is saying a tarot card daily draw, right? So kind of a tarot or an oracle card. If you do those daily, you could kind of keep track of those there as well and kind of think about what that means. A chore list, right? Journal prompts and responses. You could do your affirmations here. I do like to use it when I'm traveling for the wardrobe tracker. It helps me not overpack. Right. So if I kind of plan out what I want to wear each day, then my packing is a little bit lighter. Appointments, a checklist, right? Different kinds of things that you can use there. I like the journal prompts when they took like a little sticky note and they wrote the question, I feel joy when and then you can kind of fold the little sticky over and then they can journal. Some people use that space for the daily rituals that we have on the app. For me, that would be too small of a space, but some people have write a little tinier, right? So definitely could use it that way. 7 types of rest. If you've seen this before, you can always Google this idea of the 7 types of rest, talking about sometimes we need different ways to rest. We need physical rest or mental, sensory, creative, emotional, social, and spiritual. So thinking about what we need each day. Feels and meals. And I think this either could be used like, what were your feelings when you were eating, or how did what you eat make you feel, right? So kind of an interesting way to kind of keep track of that. A little self-care plan, so different things that you want to do each day for self-care. A little bit of a weekly reflection. They have like their favorite song, favorite moment, a quote or a thought, a highlight, different things to kind of keep track of there. Over on the mind body health, again, this is something where the idea is that you're tracking or you're planning something that is going to be good for your mind and or your body for each day. You can see somebody has the fun alliterations where they have meatless Monday, TV-free Tuesday, walking Wednesday, thoughtful Thursday, family fun Friday, right? Different kinds of things that you can have there. Another person has different things. I like the one underneath it where they have Monday, love yourself, Tuesday, be quirky, Wednesday, be kind. So they kind of have this is how I want to be on these days. Maybe you want to build a night routine. Doesn't have to be necessarily Sunday, but maybe you want to think of different things you want to do each day or in the evening. Mine, what else? I like the one they have something I did well this week and some ways I loved others this week, right? So they kind of just covered up those days and just wrote that in. Bingo board, right? Again, totally use this as a bingo board. Underneath that is the shopping list. Obviously, you can use this as a shopping list, or maybe you want to give yourself a reminder like no unnecessary spending. Maybe you want to list out some chores here. Maybe you want to make a bingo. Maybe this is your packing list. Maybe you want to make sure that you're filling your own cup, right? So there's some things that you can do to fill your cup. Maybe some of those things will come into play here. And again, those could go on the Mind Body Health Plan. Those could go on the meal plan. I have this little list of energy takers and energy givers. So sometimes those are really helpful. Maybe it's you want to do less of or experience less of the energy taking things and focus more on the energy givers. Um, Definitely the bingos, right? I'm just going to kind of go through these again. We'll go through these, we'll play a little bit of music, and then we'll check back in here in just a few minutes. All right. So hopefully you've got your B-side set up. You've found something that you want to try this week, or you're using something that you used last week and it works really well for you. Again, this is just something that is it's fun to experiment with, but when it works, right? You don't have to try to fix it. The other little box down here that people say, what am I supposed to put in this, right? Is just a place for whatever you're loving at this moment, right? And you can fill it in now, you can fill it in midweek, you can fill it in anytime during the week. Different ideas, feeling creative, right? A few weeks without training, books and tea. Um, and then one person has I'm loving myself by, and then they have something. I personally have been loving, we've been watching the Agatha All Along series on Disney Plus. We're big Marvel fans. And so that's been super fun to watch. I think that's been a very interesting, they've really well written, and I love the actresses and actors in that. So that's been super fun to watch. So just again, a little idea of something you can use. It could be a quote, it could be stickers, kind of whatever works for you. The other thing I did want to mention, because we did skip by this page as we were going from the Rosebud Thorn over into our weekly setup, right, is this idea of the currently page. Because a lot of times people will ask, what am I supposed to do with this page here on page 39? What is this currently business? So again, this is just the idea that kind of currently, what are you doing? What are you loving? What are you feeling, enjoying, anticipating, wishing, reading, watching, planning? It's just another one of those checkpoints where you can just kind of think about what's going on in your life, what you're working on, what you're doing. What I like the anticipating or wishing, and it's a nice place to kind of go back and look. So usually what I do is I set I will set I will set an alarm on my phone for the 15th of every month, and then I try on the 15th of every month to kind of just check in with myself and kind of what's working. So I definitely, some people are loving that the weather forecast is cooler. I did see, so we're going to be in Anaheim next week, but we get back on Friday night. And I think it's supposed to snow Friday night here and possibly snow and rain Saturday for that weekend. So well, I like the cooler weather. I'm not quite sure I'm ready for snow yet, but that's what you get when you live in Colorado. I love, let's see, loving the book Out of the Shadows. Always fun to kind of help remember kind of what you're reading to or what you're loving. Lots of different ideas for those things. And again, it's kind of a fun place. You don't have to fill this out, but again, it's kind of a fun little check-in. So I did want to mention, and I had posted this in Sonder Club, but I thought I would just kind of share with folks because I know there's been a lot of emails and talk about this new Silk and Sonder personalized life coach beta that's going on. And so you sign up. Um, and and there's lots of information. I know Katie will probably throw in some links for you to kind of check this out, but you go in the beginning and you fill out a lot of different things about kind of like personality types and some of the different tests and some of the different kinds of tendencies and those kinds of things. You can fill it out your values, those kinds of things. And it gives you very personalized messages. I get them once a day in the morning, but I think you can set it to only be once a week. I know that Bailey, one of our other facilitators, likes to, she has hers just once a week. But I wanted to share with you a couple of the things that I got because it really is personalized. I think that's one of the things sometimes it's like, oh, it's AI and it's just going to be kind of this generic-y thing, kind of like horoscopes or whatever. It really does take all the stuff that you feed into it at the beginning, but you can also give it feedback during with every day, right? So I went in and I had said, I need some help with some activity to help me deal with my stressful, maybe not stressful isn't the right word, but very full October. We have a lot of things going on, a lot of travel. So I got this manifestation activity that said, in the midst of your packed schedule, take some time to engage in a process called Event Savoring Whisper. For each upcoming event, close your eyes and whisper a descriptive word or phrase that encapsulates the essence or feeling that you want to experience during that event. Focus on words that resonate with your core values like fun, adventure, or creativity. Let these words gently guide you to fully appreciate each moment, helping to craft a fulfilling and enjoyable experience as you navigate your busy period. And I thought that was just an amazing little activity, and again, super personalizable. Somebody had also asked after the Gretchen Rubin talking about the four tendencies if it could be personalized for that. And so again, I typed in the thing, like I'm a questioner when I took the four tendencies. So I said, give me some prompts having to do with that. And so I got the prompt that said, reflect on how the questioner tendency influences your health goals. How can you design an easygoing fitness and meal plan that answers your need for sound reasoning and flexibility during weekends? So again, I just kind of wanted to share that to you. And I know some folks were saying things like, wish it was a little more affordable. Totally understand that. I would also maybe drop an email to the hello@silkensonder.com, let them know that you're really interested in it. The price point is just out of reach, and see if there's maybe anything they can do. Like I said, I know Meha, our founder, is really wanting to get this kind of a very broad reach. And I see some people are using it and saying that it's like, really interesting. Yeah. And again, Georgette saying affordability, I totally get it. And I think that's really good feedback to give them, so that they can kind of understand price point, those kinds of things. And I saw somebody else said I'm going to need to switch it. Nathania said I need to switch it to weekly. Daily is too much for me. It is a little bit much to get it every morning. You can also set the time you get it. So I get it like at 7 in the morning, but you can tell it when you want. So anyway, I just thought I would kind of talk about that because I know that were a lot of people kind of asking about it. And I know we've been kind of putting things on it. You do also get access, I think, to some of the classes that Meha has done. So the core values, I think, is one. So totally, very interesting, but I just kind of wanted to share that with you so you could kind of see what that looks like. Speaking of sharing, please feel free to share that weekly planner with us in Sonder Club if you feel comfortable. That's where we get all of our examples from. And you never know who you might inspire. Yeah, Marty, I appreciate your saying that the AI part started to feel like a game of Mad Libs. Put stuff in the customization, tell it what you want, and I feel like it gets less Mad Libby. But yeah, sharing those planners, sharing those what you do is very inspiring because it is so interesting to see kind of what different people have. So we do still have the refer a friend program going, where if you refer a friend, they sign up with your link, you get $10, they get $10 to use. You can still upgrade to the annual subscription. You pay it all up front, but there is a savings involved in that. The surveys, super important. So again, the surveys are a good place to tell us if you want different kinds of socials, if you want them at different times, if you want the cooking social to come back, those kinds of things. If you want to be specific about time, please tell us what time zone you're in. So that they know that. And Katie is going to be throwing all these chats into, or all these links into the chat, but you will also get an email that will have some things that will have these links in there for you as well. So thank you all so much. This is always the fastest hour. And that's why I was saying I talk so fast sometimes, because there's all these things I want to say. So it's so great that you were able to spend a little time with us. Thank you so much for getting set up for your week. We do have another weekly setup tomorrow, and Katie is going to lead that one, and I'm going to be in the chat, right? So if you want to come for that, we do one Monday morning as well. So you're always welcome to come to as many of those as you would like. So thank you all so much. Have a fabulous rest of your evening, and hopefully we will see you again soon.